They mocked my accent, laughed at my thrift store clothes, called me the help in a building my family actually owned. For 6 months, I cleaned their floors while they treated me like dirt. They had no idea who I really was. And when the truth came out, their entire world crumbled. Before we dive into this insane story of karma and revenge, hit that like button if you love seeing bullies get what they deserve. And subscribe, because you won't believe how this ends. Trust me, you'll want to see their faces when everything falls apart. My name is Gabrielle Laurent, and I'm the daughter of one of the most successful pharmaceutical moguls in America. My father built his empire from nothing, starting as a research chemist and eventually founding Meridian Pharmaceuticals. By the time I graduated from business school, his company was worth billions. But here's the thing about my father that most people don't understand. He never forgot where he came from, and he never wanted his children to forget either. So when I turned 24 and told him I was ready to join the family business, he made me an offer I'll never forget. He looked at me across his mahogany desk and said, "Gabrielle, you can have a position on the executive board. But first, you need to spend 1 year working in this company without anyone knowing who you are. See how people really behave when they think no one important is watching. Learn what it's like for the people who keep this place running." I thought he was joking at first, but my father doesn't joke about business. Within 2 weeks, I had a new identity, a fake resume, and a night shift custodial position at Meridian's Manhattan headquarters. I traded my designer clothes for second-hand uniforms. I changed my hairstyle, wore minimal makeup, and created a whole backstory about being a single mother working 2 jobs to make ends meet. Everyone called me Gabby, the quiet cleaning lady who kept her head down and did her work. Those first few weeks were eye-opening in ways I never expected. I'd grown up with privilege, sure, but I'd always considered myself aware and empathetic. I thought I understood how the world worked for people without money or connections. I was so naive. Working that night shift, being invisible to people who passed me in hallways, overhearing conversations they never would have had if they knew who I was. I realized I'd been living in a completely different world, but nothing prepared me for Octavia, Bradford, Celeste, and Devon. These 4 people formed this toxic inner circle in the upper management, and they were absolutely ruthless. Octavia was the senior HR director, this woman in her 40s who had this fake sweet voice she'd use with executives, but would turn ice cold the moment she dealt with anyone she considered beneath her. Bradford was our VP of operations, old money type, who wore his entitlement like a badge of honor. Celeste ran marketing and was the kind of social climber who'd step on anyone's neck to move up another rung. And Devon, he was Octavia's protege in finance, learning all her worst qualities and adding his own special brand of cruelty. The abuse started small, microaggressions that I told myself weren't that bad. I'd be cleaning Bradford's office after hours and hear him on speakerphone making racist jokes with his golf buddies. I'd restock supplies in the break room, while Celeste and her friends openly mocked the appearance of the custodial staff, not even bothering to lower their voices. Devon would deliberately spill his coffee on floors I'd just mopped, then stand there watching me clean it again with this smirk on his face. But around month 3, things escalated. I was cleaning the women's restroom one evening when Celeste and 2 of her colleagues came in. They didn't realize I was in one of the stalls. I heard Celeste's voice clearly. "Did you see that cleaning woman's hair today? How does someone not know how to properly groom themselves?" They laughed, making comments that got increasingly cruel and racial. I stood there frozen, my hands clenched into fists, telling myself to breathe, to stay in character, to remember why I was doing this. The worst part wasn't even the comments themselves. It was how casual they were about it. Like I wasn't even human enough to deserve basic respect. Like my existence was just something to mock during their bathroom breaks. Then came the lunch incident that still makes my blood boil. I was restocking the supply closet near the executive dining room when Bradford spotted me. He raised his voice so everyone could hear. "Hey, can you even read? Because the cleaning schedule says you should be on the 5th floor right now." His colleagues laughed. I kept my eyes down and mumbled an apology, playing my role perfectly. Inside, I was screaming. But the moment that changed everything happened in month 5. I was cleaning near the HR offices late one evening when I heard crying. A young woman named Tanisha, one of the junior analysts, was sitting in the hallway with her belongings in a box. She'd just been fired. I sat down next to her, still in character as Gabby the cleaning lady, and asked what happened. Through tears, she told me she'd reported Bradford for sexual harassment. He'd been making inappropriate comments for months, and when she finally gathered the courage to go to HR, Octavia had smiled sympathetically, taken her statement, and then 2 days later, fired her for attitude problems and not being a culture fit. Tanisha had recordings, emails, everything documented. None of it mattered. Octavia had buried the complaint and falsified the termination records. I comforted Tanisha as best I could, gave her my personal phone number, and told her to keep every piece of evidence she had. As I watched her drive away, Octavia appeared behind me. She must have been watching from her office window. "You know, Gabby," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "you should stay in your lane. Focus on cleaning, unless you want to end up like her with a box of belongings and no reference." That night, I went home to my actual apartment, the penthouse my father didn't know I'd kept, and I cried. Not because I was hurt, but because I was furious. Furious that this was happening in my family's company. Furious that people like Tanisha were being crushed by people like Octavia. And furious with myself for having been so blind to this reality my entire privileged life. The next morning, I called my father. I told him what I'd witnessed. He wanted me to end the assignment immediately, to reveal myself and fire everyone involved. But I convinced him to let me continue. "Dad," I said, "if I reveal myself now, we'll only get these 4. But I'm seeing a pattern. This goes deeper. Give me the rest of my year. Let me document everything properly. Let me make sure when we bring the hammer down, it actually changes things." So I kept going, and I started documenting everything. Every conversation I overheard while cleaning, every discriminatory comment, every time Devin bragged about manipulating overtime records to steal wages from the custodial and warehouse staff. I had a tiny recording device with me at all times. I photographed documents left on desks. I legally accessed emails from computers left logged in, using my legitimate access as part of the night maintenance team. What I discovered was worse than I imagined. Bradford had harassed at least 7 women over the past 4 years. Octavia had systematically blocked promotions for Black and Latino employees, keeping them trapped in lower positions regardless of qualifications. Devin had stolen approximately $340,000 in wages from over 50 workers through his overtime manipulation scheme, and Celeste had sabotaged countless careers of people she deemed beneath her, spreading false rumors and tanking performance reviews. They'd created this protected little kingdom where they could abuse anyone they wanted, covering for each other, ensuring no complaint ever reached anyone who actually cared. And they got away with it because people like me, the custodial staff, the warehouse workers, the junior employees, we were invisible to them. We didn't matter. But then came the moment that still haunts me. I was cleaning the executive break room one evening when all 4 of them were working late. I was trying to restock the coffee station when Celeste noticed my community college brochures sticking out of my bag. She grabbed them and held them up. "Oh my God, look! Gabby's trying to educate herself. How adorable." Bradford laughed. "Some people just aren't meant for better things. At least you're good at mopping, right? Stick with what you know." Devin joined in, his voice cruel. "Does your baby daddy even help with bills? Or are you one of those welfare queens we're always hearing about?" Octavia didn't even look up from her phone. She just smiled and said, "This is why we have to be so careful about who we promote. Not everyone has the intelligence or work ethic for advancement." They laughed. All 4 of them stood there in their expensive clothes, with their expensive educations, laughing at a woman they thought was struggling to survive, someone they saw as lesser, someone whose pain was entertainment to them. I kept cleaning around them, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the spray bottle. But I didn't break character. I didn't give them the satisfaction. I just recorded every single word. That night, I contacted Tanisha and the other victims I'd identified. I told them I was gathering evidence for a major complaint and asked if they'd be willing to provide testimonies. I couldn't tell them who I really was yet, but something in my voice must have convinced them I was serious. They shared their stories, their evidence, their pain. One by one, I collected testimonies from people who'd been crushed by this toxic inner circle. I compiled everything into a 200-page document with video evidence, audio recordings, financial records, and sworn statements. I brought it to my father's personal legal team. The lawyers were shocked. One of them told me this was one of the most comprehensive cases of workplace discrimination and abuse he'd seen in his career. My father called me into his office a week before my year anniversary. He looked older somehow, tired. "Gabrielle," he said, "I've seen the evidence. This is more than enough. We can handle this quietly, terminate them, settle with the victims, move on." I shook my head. No, quiet means it happens again somewhere else. These people need to face real consequences, public ones. I want them to know exactly who they were abusing. I want everyone in this industry to know that this behavior destroys careers. My father studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "You've grown up," he said simply. "Let's do this right." The board meeting was scheduled as an emergency session. Topic listed: critical HR violations and operational misconduct. Octavia, Bradford, Celeste, and Devon were all required to attend. I watched from a back office as they arrived, confident and smirking. I heard Celeste joke, "What's the old man upset about now? Probably someone used the wrong font in a presentation." I'd spent the morning transforming back into myself. Designer suit, natural hair styled the way I normally wore it, makeup professionally done. I looked like exactly who I was, the daughter of a billionaire, a woman with an MBA from an Ivy League school, someone who belonged in that boardroom far more than any of them did. When I walked in, the room went silent. I watched their faces as recognition slowly dawned. The color drained from Octavia's face. Bradford's mouth literally fell open. Celeste looked like she might throw up. Devon tried to smile, like maybe he could charm his way out of whatever was happening. I sat down at the head of the table next to my father. My heart was pounding, but my voice was steady. My father began, "For those who don't know, this is my daughter, Gabrielle Laurent. For the past 11 months, she's been working undercover in various positions throughout this company. What she discovered is deeply disturbing." Bradford stammered, "Wait, you were the cleaning woman." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "The cleaning woman who heard every word you said, every slur, every scheme, every moment you thought no one important was watching." The lawyers took over, and it was brutal. They played video montages of racist comments on the big screens, audio recordings of the illegal termination planning, financial forensic reports showing Devon's wage theft with exact numbers, video testimonies from Tanisha and 6 other harassment victims, email chains proving systematic discrimination in promotions. Every piece of evidence I'd gathered over 11 months presented in devastating detail. I watched them fall apart in real time. Octavia tried to claim entrapment and illegal recording. Our lawyers calmly explained one-party consent laws and that all recordings were from public workplace areas where there's no expectation of privacy. Bradford attempted to laugh it off as jokes taken out of context. The victims' testimonies, specific and detailed and heartbreaking, destroyed that defense immediately. Celeste broke down crying, trying to blame the others, but text messages showed she was an enthusiastic participant in every scheme. Devon actually tried to run from the room. Security blocked the doors. He didn't know yet, but police were waiting outside with a warrant for his arrest on felony wage theft charges. The board voted unanimously for immediate termination without severance. Criminal charges were filed. Civil lawsuits proceeded with the company's full legal and financial support for the victims. Professional licenses were revoked. Within hours, their names were being quietly circulated throughout the pharmaceutical industry. They'd never work in corporate America again. That evening, I sat in my father's office, both of us exhausted. "You could have revealed yourself on day one," he said. "Stopped it all immediately. Then we wouldn't have known how deep it went," I replied. How many others were suffering in silence, how broken the system was. Sometimes you have to let the rot fully expose itself before you can truly cut it out. He squeezed my shoulder. "You did the hard thing, not the easy thing. That's real leadership." So where are they now? Devon was convicted and sentenced to 3 years in prison with an order to pay back every penny of that $340,000. Bradford settled multiple harassment lawsuits that cost him his retirement savings, his marriage, and forced him into early retirement at 51. His reputation in the industry is completely destroyed. Octavia lost her HR certification and can't work in corporate HR anywhere. Last I heard, she's managing a retail store, ironically dealing with the same kind of employees she used to look down on. Celeste couldn't find work in marketing for any major company. She's running social media for a local gym and living in a studio apartment. As for me, I joined the executive board and immediately created comprehensive diversity and worker protection programs. I personally mentor young professionals from underrepresented backgrounds, though they don't know who I am. I'm just someone who reaches out and helps. Tanisha was rehired with a promotion and back pay. She's thriving now, and we've stayed in touch. She's become a fierce advocate for workplace justice. The custodial staff got raises and better benefits. The overtime system was completely overhauled with external auditing. We established an independent ombudsman for complaints. Every single policy that allowed Octavia and her crew to operate was dismantled and rebuilt from scratch. But here's what I learned from those 11 months that I'll never forget. Privilege isn't just about having money or power. It's about being seen as fully human. Those 4 people didn't see me as human when they thought I was just a cleaning lady. My worth as a person was directly tied to my perceived social status in their eyes. And that's the rot that exists in so many places, in so many systems. People are treated as disposable, based on job titles, skin color, bank accounts, or backgrounds. My father taught me that lesson by forcing me to experience it firsthand. It was painful and infuriating and sometimes terrifying, but it was necessary. Because now when I make decisions that affect thousands of employees, I remember exactly what it felt like to be invisible, to be mocked, to watch injustice happen and feel powerless to stop it. Those 4 people thought they were untouchable. They thought their positions protected them. They thought someone like me, someone they saw as beneath them, could never hurt them. They were wrong, and their entire world crumbled because they forgot the most basic rule of human decency. Treat everyone with respect, because you truly never know who you're talking to. If you loved watching karma catch up with these bullies, smash that like button and drop a comment telling me which moment was most satisfying. Was it when they recognized me, when the evidence played, or when the police showed up? Subscribe because I've got more stories of entitled people getting exactly what they deserve. Hit that notification bell so you never miss when karma strikes again. And remember, that person you're looking down on might just be the one who determines your entire future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story of Instant Karma.